joining us here on NewsX World. It's a great pleasure to talk to you. We turn over now to Europe's east, where Ukraine is set to expand its defence exports this year, with reports estimating that sales could reach several $billion. Ukraine has approved the majority of 40 defence export applications, allowing for the export of components, spare parts and services, but not ready-to-use weapons, which will remain prioritised for Ukraine's own military needs. However, the government is considering an export tax on defence products, which could generate much-needed revenue for its underfunded military. This move comes amid growing interest from foreign nations, including 3 Middle Eastern countries and at least one Asian nation eager to purchase Ukraine's cutting-edge defence technologies. Furthermore, Ukraine is focusing on joint ventures and co-production arrangements to strengthen partnerships with its allies, regardless of the intermediate revenue. Meanwhile, the country continues to balance its wartime priorities with economic opportunities in the global defence market. Joining us to discuss this is Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, a Russian affairs expert, joining us live from Brussels. Thank you very much for joining us. Ukraine here expanding its defence exports while it's still at war. Is this a sign of industrial strength or financial necessity?
That's a combination of both. I think the audience must be aware that Ukraine is not a third world country in the pejorative sense. Ukraine was highly advanced in military production when it was within the USSR. And the capabilities that it accumulated then as a major supplier, even from the 1990s on, a major supplier of specific types of equipment, whether they were vessels, naval vessels, or parts for aircraft, that tradition has not been lost. It is also a population that is considerable, even at reduced levels in the course of the war. So its capabilities are there, and that must be appreciated. That it would sell or try to sell some of its ongoing production of components for weapon systems is logical. However, let's be open with the fact that the vast majority of military materiel that is being used by the Ukrainian army on the battlefield is being supplied from the West. It is not domestically manufactured. So the volumes and the variety of equipment needed to maintain the war is beyond the capabilities of Ukraine, although it is itself a significant supplier of its needs for drones. That is a type of production which can easily be done in well-hidden underground or cellars, and is outside the capability of the Russians to destroy it all. So that the drone warfare is probably largely coming from Ukraine's own capabilities.
And do you think possibly after the war, of course, Ukraine could become a major European defence manufacturer post-war with Russia, given its current capabilities?
The capabilities are there, but the money isn't there. You need a lot of working capital to finance military industry in the present circumstances. A country like Germany has it. Other major European countries have a hard time accumulating the cash necessary for rearmament, and Ukraine certainly is at the end of the train in that regard. So it would be up to Western investors to specifically raise the military output of Ukraine for their own purposes, and they may do that, although the preference will surely be everywhere in Europe, at least, to manufacture military hardware themselves in country for the sake of raising employment and the growth of GDP.
Okay, do stay with us once again, Dr. Doctorow, as we turn on to our next story. A related development coming up next. The European Commission's 20th sanctions package includes a proposal to intercept tankers transporting Russian oil. The plan seeks legal grounds to stop, inspect and potentially seize vessels carrying Russian oil on the high seas, with negotiations underway to gain support from countries that register these tankers. According to reports, this initiative has raised concerns among several EU nations who are suspecting it could lead to military confrontations at sea. Russia has made it clear that it will not recognise the legality of such actions, adding to growing tensions surrounding the enforcement of these sanctions. Dr. Doctorow joins us once again. What more can you tell us about the jurisdiction here and the development here that many Russian oil shipments move via this so-called shadow fleet?
Well, the European Commission may hire a group of lawyers who will tell them what they want to hear. But in normal parlance, what they're proposing to do is called piracy. And piracy is the antechamber of all-out war. The Russians have made it plain that they will not allow this to happen. And this shows once again the utter irresponsibility of von der Leyen's commission. Both she and her chief diplomat, Kallas, are recommending to the EU actions that can only lead to a direct war with Russia. These people do not deserve to stay in power if Europe does not want to be destroyed.
Do stay with us once again, Gilbert, as we turn over to our next story once again. Former South Korean President